I mean, you've got this massive Qatar World Cup coming up. And now, with like weeks to go before it starts, it's all coming out about like all the issues around it and how nothing occurred to FIFA at the time regarding anything about human rights or anything like that. You know, they didn't look at it. Blatter's come out saying it was just handed out. Well, I think everybody's kind of still thinking the same thing about the whole money situation. How a small independent state basically ended up buying or acquiring, not necessarily buying, but acquiring the World Cup when the temperature's involved as well. I mean, in the middle of the winter, and it still can be in the 80s or 90s with humidity, and matches will have to be played at dark o'clock to try and get cool enough temperatures. Ultimately, this kind of thing, sports washing, just doesn't seem to work. Here's Live Golf, right? And Rory McIlroy's had another go at this, coming out and saying that, well, Greg Norman should walk away. He's doing Live Golf, no help whatsoever with his figureheading it. And ultimately, they got it off the ground, but now he should go because they need an adult in the room when they're talking. All contradictory statements because, well, Greg Norman, last time I checked, was quite old. Previous to that, he's won loads of majors, lots of experience in golf. Probably does have an axe to grind with his history with the PGA Tour and governing bodies falling out, because everyone knows Greg Norman for years tried to start up a breakaway golf tour for whatever reason. We'll probably never know the full disclosure. But Greg does come across as someone with an axe to grind. But at the same time, you can't just dismiss the guy. He has views. He has got Live Golf off the ground. There's rumours abound that an ex-TaylorMade CEO is maybe going to be taking the reins of the Live Tour. But again, sports washing at its greatest. But ultimately sports washing loses because eventually folk just lose interest and aren't going to watch. The World Cup's going to be interesting as well. I mean, Live Golf, the viewing figures aren't good for it either, but at the times the games are on at, who's going to be watching? I suppose people will, but advertisers are running scared from both the World Cup and Live Golf because of the whole human rights issues, LGBT rights and all that, you know. So the whole marketing side of it is at a loose end. Formula One, they kind of have the same issues slightly, but maybe not as bad. But in this current climate, Live Golf seem to be going forward the next season. Adewell in Australia, they're hosting the next big event, or first 1, 2, 3 events. They tried to get a number of courses in Australia and failed, but they have got one. Rumours abound that maybe La Manga has signed them up, but that's just a rumour. But in this current climate, with the amount of money that they can throw, if you had a club and you were in trouble, and you maybe reached out or someone reached out for you and then they made you an offer that we want to make you an offer that you can't refuse, then, you know, anything's possible. But like Rory throwing Greg Norman under the bus, I'm not quite on side with that. The talks have broke down more on that than just one man. But the whole stance the RNA took by basically no acknowledging Greg Norman as a previous champion or winner just came across as sour grapes on their behalf, because anyone who wins the Open is an Open champion. You never take that away from them. So by ignoring the fact or excluding them because they reckoned he was going to use it for a public PR stunt, I probably would have wore like a Live Golf shirt and a Live Golf hat and played, done whatever he'd done. But other than that, you know, freedom of the speech and press and stuff, and people have to make their own minds up about this, right? You as an individual need to make your own mind up about, you're going to watch the World Cup, you're going to watch Live Golf, you're going to... the biggest voice that we have is if you as a mass group decide, of anybody, you know, subscribers a lot, if you all decide, nah, that's it, we're not watching anymore, and we turn off in the masses, then that kind of like is the biggest voice you've got, you know. So that's all I've got to say on it. But I wanted to add a quick wee thing in about the European Tour school qualifying and just how hard that is. I mean, it's like just, it must be the hardest school in the world ever. And I know, you know, a lot of you are saying that it's only golf and like 9 rounds plus to qualify. It's only 25 players get in. And Marcel Siem, fingers crossed, Marcel, come on son. He was lying 12th last time I checked with the final round to go. Played out. You've got to play so well to get to the, you know, the leader was 24 under. Going all the way down, 14 under, 12 under. It's 25 players out of hundreds. There's, you know, I think they start off with 500-600 players. They whittle them down. And even the final group roundings, there's 190 odd players for 25 spaces, right? You've got to play the best golf of your life. There's Stephen Gallagher missed out. It can destroy a player, that, you know, and now he's going to have to hope for invitations. And the only way back for you is having that 1 week out of 365 days where everything goes right and you win, and you suddenly get your tour card back. But you're out in the wilderness, you know, unless you go play on the one of the other tours, like maybe South African tour, but you still got to qualify for that, you know. Getting into that Sunshine Tour ain't easy. There's a YouTuber who's trying that just now. I watch him all the time. Oh man, can't forget his name now. You know, the big guy, hits the ball a mile, Cobra clubs, young lad, tattoos. Oh, fill in the gap below, comment below. He seems like a nice lad, and I watched him. He's got potential. And he's trying his hardest, but again, it's no easy. And 25 players out of this. It's in the small print. It says 25 and ties. So I guess if you're like really, really lucky, say the cut was 12 under and ties, right? So maybe, I don't know, 30 players get in because there's 5 extra at 12 under. Or I'm just using that figure. But it's... some great players have had their careers totally just by sheer unluckiness. Craig Lee springs to mind. Scottish pro. Fantastic player. Stirling Golf Club, Stirling area. He went on the European Tour. Had a couple of close calls, like second places. but the money side of it was so tight, he couldn't earn enough money from his starts to keep his tour card, because you needed over £1 million to keep your tour card. He ended up in a playoff and lost at the first extra hole to Thomas Bjorn. Didn't like that at all. Thomas Bjorn, for all I like him, he's a sound bloke, but he had the arms round him, he was hugging him, he was giving him this, that, and the next thing, I'm your best pal, and oh, I'm sorry I've got to play you down this playoff hole. You know, mind games, eh? More experienced player, but did Thomas Bjorn have to stoop that low to do that kind of mind play shenanigans to him? Just fucking shake the lad's hand, say best of luck, may the best man win, and leave it fucking there. I mean, I think Craig got psyched out on that fucking ecstasy of just missing out on the win, because he missed the putt. It's fucking, and then he's in the playoff, and who needed it more, you know? But life's no fair that way. Craig's tried a couple of times, and it's so. I mean, you see the scoring for this European Tour qualifying, and you could say, yeah, but you're in control. Well, you might be in control, but it's 9 feckin' rounds of golf. Like, it's over 163 holes of golf or something. And basically, if you make a bogey or a double bogey, that can be the difference between you getting in and missing. Your life, like, on golf, going from can I make it on tour to I can't even get on tour. Would there be a fairer way of doing it? I don't know, because all the other tours are folding. So there used to be a way of, like, you know, getting in through other events and qualifying through stages in other tours and eventually getting invites. It's not so easy now, and it's all right saying, oh, the best player should get on tour, or the best player always rises to the top. But if you look back in history, just take the Open for example. You've got to go back, I think, about 100 years before you find an amateur that, say, won the Open or the US Open. You know, it's been done, but you've got to go back 100, 150 years before you find that player. Because the money that's involved in trying to play in these events and getting in, you would need to have, like, a big backer, you know, someone who would be that guy to take the not so much taking a chance on you, but someone who believes in you and wants to see you succeed. And has a bit of money. I'm thinking Shane Lowry's done it. Darren Clarke's done it. I think Darren Clarke actually helped Shane Lowry. And Shane Lowry's done it for a couple of other people, because Darren Clarke stood up and says, you know, I'll help you get to these events. I'll help you stay in a hotel, because if you're sleeping in your car and your back's fucked the next day, you're frozen, you've hardly had a coffee and you're trying to tee it up, you're at about a 10-shot disadvantage. That's like love, innit? Someone who is thinking of others and giving back, and trying, no asking anything back. You know, just like Padraig Harrington's done it as well. They've seen folk struggle, they've, like, looked and they've seen something in that person, and they've went, you know, that guy could be the greatest player, and they've given their own money to the guy. Call it like an interest-free loan or whatever, because, you know, who knows what these guys have done, but they've helped them. I think Graham McDowell, he was another one that reached out and someone helped him. He's returned the favour a few times to other players. So these are things, you know, that these players don't necessarily talk about. Higbrel Cabrera springs to mind, and a few other big names. Back in the day, Seve Ballesteros helped young Spaniards when he could see that there was no one else there that wanted to back them, and he helped them. Laughaball and that, you know. And I mean, that's that universal thing in sport. That's what sports washing can't buy. That is like the ultimate, innit? You know, you've got there, you maybe playing a practice round one day, you're on tour, you've got no worries because you're a multi-millionaire. You know, these guys have made it. And walking up the fairway and there's this young whippersnapper there and they see something in him. And I don't know what happens after that. But, you know, the days of like these young whippersnappers getting like corporate sponsorship to help them out, they're no willing to take they're no interested. They're not, if there's nothing in it for them, they're not interested. If they can't like get high exposure and stuff like that, you might get the odd player who gets a sponsorship from the Bank of Scotland or something just as they put it on their bag, you know. But gone are the days like it used to be, you know. Crikey, players used to struggle when they were on the Tartan Tour and like trying to break through. Even this kind of thing, you know, like a company would, they would struggle to get like a company to throw them 18 shirts their way so that they could change a shirt, have a fresh shirt every day, you know. And the fact that they might be on television and you see the branding, that should be enough. And what, to a big massive company, what's throwing 18 shirts somebody's way? And saying, you know, in the scheme of things, I'll tell you one of the best companies out there, and this is without a word of a lie, and they don't publish it, they don't really go out the way, but if you are a registered tour pro, you're out of contract, you maybe didn't have a contract, one of the few companies that'll really dig you out if you go to them is Callaway Golf. They'll give you the you know, they'll maybe not kit you with the entire set, but if you're a break your driver, for example, and you nip into that tour van and you go, guys, I'm really stuck, they'll help you out with a driver, help you out with a putter, help you out with a wedge. The guys will regrip clubs for you. That Callaway tour van, and you know, obviously the CEOs that run the tour, if you approach them or contact or speak to them, they are walking about the ranges and stuff, see a guy needs a bit of help, sure, they'll not necessarily have the money to go and say, well, you know, there's $50,000 on a bag deal. They didn't have the money. But Callaway go, you know, you need a driver, you need a 3-wood, come see us. You know, they know that player gets on that leaderboard, top set 10, few times on telly, and he's hammering this driver on the final round and that. Folk notice, folk go, whoa, he's using a Callaway driver and he's not even got a bag deal and he's got Callaway clubs in his bag, and that's better than any kind of like sponsorship deal. But it's no the same as, but throwing money at anything to get a return isn't necessarily always the best thing. Helping people and expecting nothing back, and it's I can't remember the name it's called. It's like it's a form of goodwill advertising. I'm not sure how they call it, but it's changing the way people are using things on social media and stuff like that. You know, it's finishing on a high note. Well, let's finish on a high note because we've spoke for nearly 20 minutes on the state of sport and sports washing and the whole struggle, just like great golfers have, like Stephen Gallagher missing out, Craig Lee missing out, you know, all these players. Scottish golf must be like, I mean, honestly, you know, all these young top amateurs coming up the rankings, they need so much money to try and get to the top, and yet so few make it. And Scotland, It's a small country. So few make it now, you know. And it's not from lack of trying or lack of talent. It can be boiled down to just wasn't my week, you know. It's like any golf, and I maintain this wholeheartedly. Any golfer with a bit of talent, right? With a bit of talent. There's 365 days a year. Well, this is a positive note for the whole video. 365 days a year. Any golfer with any bit of talent. 4 rounds of golf. That 4 days of your life out of, I don't know how many years, you could win the Open. It's not impossible. The odds are freaking huge. But if you think about it, put 4 rounds of golf together out of even like you guys that are watching this video, if you think back over your entire life, right, and you put your best ever 4 rounds of golf together, right, from all over the place, and added that score together, it could be the winning score for that week of the Open. That's one way to look at it. So never write yourself off. It's not being big-headed, it's not being arrogant. It's just self-belief and self-confidence and having that oomph to say, I'm not going to go down without a fight. That's it. That's all I've got to say. Thanks for watching. Hope you can subscribe to the channel because it's all for charity, Macmillan Help the Heroes Shelter. But like, we need to get 1,000 subscribers to get ad revenue to the charities, because that's all the channel's for. It's basically generating ad revenue to charity. It's not for the channel, it's for the charities. But we need to get 1,000 subscribers. We're way off. There's only 790 of you lovely, fabulous, amazing people. Thanks.